Hi, I'm Nancy. Welcome to Mindful Yoga. Today we're going to come into our bodies and give particular attention to the deep front line, the deep core of our body, particularly in the hips, inner thighs, and the psoas, but throughout our whole bodies. Let's start with some breathing. Find a comfortable seat where your hips can be higher than your knees. Begin to allow your mind, your thoughts, to dissolve down into the body. Slowly relaxing down through the torso and bringing the attention to the breath, eyes soft. Feel the breath reaching out into all the cells of the body. The breath itself bringing ease and softness to the muscles, tendons. Letting the blood circulate just a little more easily. Relaxing through the diaphragm and the pelvic bowl. Inhale breath down into that pelvic area as if there were a balloon there in the bowl of the pelvis. Filling with air and emptying out. One more breath in that pelvic balloon. Then bringing the breath particularly into the lower ribs, the upper intestinal area. Letting that balloon, the area of the diaphragm, swell with air and empty out. And bringing the attention to the lungs, the heart area and collarbone. Opening and closing. Welcoming in the fresh air. And breathing out the stale air. Now bringing all those areas of these balloons together. Inhaling into the pelvic area, then the lower ribs and the upper chest. Breathing out upper lungs to lower lungs and diaphragm. Down, emptying out the pelvic area. And two more breaths, long, easy, soft. Now bring the arms along the side. Inhale as fingers reach out to the side, slowly bringing the arms up and around. Palms come towards each other, perhaps touching at the top for a pause. Then exhale slowly down, pushing hands down through the viscous, honey-like air. One more time. Mind completely free-flowing into the body. Body stretching out, expanding up into the universe, pausing and exhaling, slowly coming round back to earth, back to the matter of the body. Then inhale as one arm reaches forward, fingers reach forward and up, gaze follows, opening that shoulder to its complete range of motion 2 more times round. But being careful of any shoulder issues, always modifying. The body has gone through many experiences and joints loosen up to the extent that they can, gradually opening. come round the opposite direction, back and up, down like a swimmer down through the water. Over to the other side, the arm comes forward and up, reaches back. 2 more times round. Reginald Ray tells us that the body holds in its very cells all of the experiences and feelings, those we like and those we don't like. And back the opposite direction once, up and pushing down through the water. We're going to stand to loosen up our joints this morning. Stand so that your feet are a little wider than hip width apart. And first just allow the hips to move back and forth, letting the heel come up on the side, loosening up through the torso and hips, and letting the arms just swing along as the hips lead from side to side. When we push back against the body's knowledge, it involves every part of our body. When we tighten up against some knowledge, some action that has made us angry or jealous or guilty, our muscles, our tendons, even our cartilage and organs, our blood and lymph systems, everything can tighten up with that knowledge, and we push back. Coming back through center, bring the hands back behind, palms out, fingers down, coming down towards the tailbone. Feet are underneath the hips, and just bounce gently and slowly up and down. Hips and knees soft, shoulders soft. Letting the organs soften. And breathing as you do this, staying in the body. Gaze can always go a little soft to help to keep you there in the body. Coming to a halt with that, let's bring our attention to our nose. Let the nose go round in a small circle in one direction, 4 or 5 times. The circle can get bigger if you would like. Gaze goes with it, and then round the opposite direction. If there's any dizziness, just pause a moment at each of the 4 corners, if you will, of the circle, and let the gaze pause just a minute and come back through neutral. Now clasp the hands and let the wrists lead the way round in a figure 8 for 3, 2, and 1. And then round the other direction with a clasp, reclasping in the opposite way, in a kind of non-ordinary way, and bringing the wrists round. Bring the shoulders up towards the ears, squeeze the shoulder blades together, shoulders come slowly down, and then bring the shoulders together in the front, up to the ears, squeeze shoulder blades, shoulders hang down, come forward. One more time around. Letting the body give up some of its stories and letting the mind be looser. I'm one who carries a lot of tension in my shoulders, so that's a good one for letting my shoulder stories go. Bring the hands to the hip creases, feet are wider, and let the hips circle round. Slowly over to one side, a little to the front, other side and back. One more time round, and then we'll go around the opposite direction. As our bodies lock up with these feelings that we don't really want to feel, the stories in our minds also get frozen. This is what Reginald Ray tells us in his book, Touching Enlightenment, and then come back through the center. Bring the knees together, the feet together. Hands come down onto the tops of the knees, and knees are bent, hips are bent, and allow the hips to circle round. Knees are circling round, and you're going around the circumference of the feet. Move back around the opposite direction. And back through center. Come up, hands on hips. Bring the weight over one foot. This is your foundation leg. Let the other foot come back behind and turn onto the front of the toes and then the back of the toes, letting the ankles circle round. Of course, the knee and the hip is also getting some loosening here. If it bothers you, just stay on the back of the toes. And then back the opposite direction. For 3, 2, and 1. Loosening up the joints here. Weight in the opposite foot, and the other leg comes back onto the toes, round the toes. The foot itself is loosening up here. And back the opposite direction. For 3, 2, and 1. And come back through center. We're going to come into a mountain pose now, standing like a mountain with feet firmly grounded down. Feel the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. Lift the toes a bit and put them back down. Feel the energy coming up through the arches. The deep front line comes up behind the shin bone, the tibialis posterior, from the arch of the foot through the heel and up behind the shin bone, tendon coming to muscle. The deep front line goes up the inner thighs, the adductor magnusus, triangular muscles in the inner thighs. Then up through the psoas muscle that attaches in the back of the spine, just below the waist, and comes down in the midst of the abdomen and attaches in the inner side of the top of the femur, the thigh bone. So it's a very inner muscle that's an important part of the deep core. Then coming up through the torso to the back of the throat, lifting from the root of the tongue up through the back of the throat to the crown. So we're extending from the arches of the feet all the way up through the back of the throat. Breathing up the front of the spine and down the back of the spine. And also aligning the body. Equal weight in both feet. Equal energy in the front of the body and the back of the body. As we align, we can receive information, even if it doesn't fit with who we think we are. We can hear what the body knows. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, over, hands come to opposite elbows, knees and hips are soft, come down. Then even softer in knees and hips, arms come out and around and up. Palms come together, down through heart center and down to the sides. Bring a block or a blanket or a book, something that you can have beside your chair and bring your foot up on. So it could be a block, it could be a book, it could be a blanket. Stepping up onto that and giving yourself some support from the chair beside you. Strong through this leg and energy up through the side of the body. Then let the other leg just swing slightly back and forth. This is a small movement. The free leg is swinging like a lullaby, like you're just rocking a baby a little bit back and forth. This allows the psoas muscle that often holds tension from the spine down to the top of the thigh bone to just slacken and relax. Now coming to a pause, shake the toes as if you had water on your toes and you're just shaking it off. A small movement. And once again, a little lullaby, and a shake, allowing that psoas to relax and soften. Come down off of the block. Bring the weight into the foot. You can have your hand on the chair or on the hips. Toe comes forward and to the side and back, round the other leg, and that can become a swing, or you can keep the toe coming back. You can always bring a hand over to the chair. Three, two, and one. Exploring that range of motion of this amazing hip that we have. Now bring the weight into the other foot as the foundation leg and come about a leg's distance away from the seat of your chair. Bring the heel of that leg up onto the chair. We're stretching now through this adductor magnus, this triangular inner thigh muscle. Strong through this leg, bringing the energy up the body, breathing up the front of the spine and down the back of the spine. Staying in the body, listening. Just abiding in this unknown space of the body. One more breath. And with a soft knee, bring that leg down. Bring the chair over to the other side. And again, bringing the pillow or the block or the book so that you can stand up on it. You can always do this on a stair as well. Anything that gives you a little bit of lift. And of course, you can do it with your foot down. You just don't get quite as much of a slackening in your psoas. So allowing that leg to lullaby rock a little bit forward and back. Relaxing through the cheeks and the lips, and the shoulders, which aids the softening and relaxation down through the spine, the hip, the psoas muscle. And then shaking the toes slightly, getting the water off your toes, a little lullaby again. Then shake the toes and come down. Moving that block or book, weight into the same foundation leg. Toe comes in front, side, and back, and around. Perhaps swinging, feeling that ease through the hip. Letting the hip, the body become looser, more flexible. Allowing it to become ready for transformation, to see things in a new way. And bring that foot down. Shift into the other leg as the foundation leg. You're about a leg's length away from the chair. Heel comes up onto the chair. A little softness in that foundation leg knee. Breathing up through the front of the spine and down through the bottom of the spine. Letting the breath keep you in the body. And the thoughts come, just letting them pass. They'll be there later when you can tend to them. For now, be in the body. One last inhale and exhale. And bring the foot down. Now moving the chair to the side. Bring the feet hip width apart. Knees bend, hips bend, and hands come just above the knees on the thighs. I'm going to turn so you can see me. Inhale as stomach sinks and sternum rises a bit, and exhale as the back arches. So this is cat-cow. opening through the front of the spine and then through the back of the spine. This version of cat-cow needs a little bit more exercise through the abdominal area, and it stretches the psoas, especially as we arch in each direction. One more time, opening in the front and opening in the back. Coming up, bring the legs wide apart. Bend the knees, hands are on the thighs just above the knees. We'll go back and forth, stretching through these inner thighs. Side lunge back and forth. Now we're going to, again turning so you can see, bring the head and shoulders down a bit so that the head and shoulders and hips are more or less in the same line, and then continue that side skating motion from side to side. This is stretching us a little bit more through the inner thighs and also strengthening through the psoas. 2 and 1. And come back. Bring the hands to the tailbone in the back with the fingers down and hands on the sacrum, tailbone area. Feet are under hips. Inhale up through sternum, gaze rises. Exhale as knees bend, arms cross and fountain up. Open up. Come back once again to the sacrum. Inhale up, opening through the chest. And exhaling once again around. One last time, open through the front of the body. And then opening up across the chest and the arms and coming down. We're going to do a squat now. So we'll be coming down. You might want to have a blanket if you have one near. If you'd like to bring your heels onto the blanket, this makes the squat a little more possible for more people. You might have hands on knees. You might have elbows on the knees, or they might be between the knees. Find what works for your hips. This is a gradual process of opening. Tailbone down towards the earth. The back of the throat reaching up towards the top of the skull. The pelvic floor easy but energetic here. So no kegels, but an energetic, gentle drawing in of the pelvic floor. 2 more breaths up the front of the spine and down the back of the spine. Open to those potential new ways of being that the body can bring us as it relaxes. Then we'll come down into a lying position. Bring the knees up, bent, arms are along the side. The left ankle comes up onto the right thigh just above the knee. The left palm comes against the inner thigh, and I'm gently pressing left palm against the inner thigh, relaxing down through the hips. The right foot remains on the floor. This is allowing the psoas to relax and slacken. Relax down through your jaw, down through your torso to the hip. Feeling perhaps that relaxed, easy stretching between the lower spine and the top of the thigh bone. One last inhale and exhale here. Then switch legs. Right ankle over left thigh. Left foot is on the mat. Right palm pushes easily against the right inner thigh. Relax down through the hip and the thigh. Relax through the lips, the shoulders. Let the breath fill the torso, the pelvic bowl. One more inhale and exhale here. Loosening the tension in that psoas muscle that holds tension in our bodies. Now crossing the other leg over once again, coming up into a more typical figure four where you raise the leg and give it some support with the hands behind the thighs. The ankle is flexed, and here we're stretching the piriformis muscle that runs from the sacroiliac joint, the center back of the sacrum, across the top of the butt and over to the outer hip on the side. The sciatic nerve runs through this, and so it's a very important muscle to keep stretched and loose, and contributes to the whole ease of our body. One more inhale and exhale here. And relax down. Figure four on the other side, lifting the other leg up with the ankle of the figure four leg on the thigh. Relaxing down through the glutes, through the hips, through the intestines and the shoulders. Feeling that stretch across the top back of the glute area. One more inhale and exhale here. And release down. Give one knee a hug towards the chest. The other knee rises up, comes up towards the chest. Then that leg extends out. So I'm hugging one knee. Meanwhile, the other leg is coming up towards the chest, bent, and then extending straight out towards the bottom of the mat. 2 more times. This is actually exercising that psoas muscle. The psoas muscle connects at the lesser trochanter, which is the top inner side of the thigh bone. Bring the other leg, hugging it up. So the opposite leg is hugged towards the chest, and the other leg is coming up towards the chest and extending out towards the bottom of the mat, back and forth, exercising the psoas muscle. That I was saying, it connects at the bottom, at the back side of our pelvic area, of our pelvic floor area. And that is an area where there's a nexus of nerves connecting to the autonomic nervous system. So relaxing down through the psoas simultaneously allows our whole nervous system to relax. Bring your hands to the kneecaps as the knees are bent above the hips. And the knees are going to go in the same direction, a small circle over to the side and down, over to the other side and up. So both knees moving together, round. One more time. And then round the opposite direction. Perhaps you can feel a kind of massage on the lower back, the sacrum area, as both knees circle round in the same direction. Then coming back through center, knees separate a bit, hands again are on the knees, and start with circles in the opposite directions. Knees going out and around in opposite directions. Change the direction. Simply abiding in the body here. And come back through center. Roll over and we'll come up into a tabletop position. With hands underneath the shoulders, bring the knees out to the edges of the mat. The knees are at 90 degrees and the ankles also, to the extent possible, are at 90 degrees. Again, modifying for whatever the knees and the ankles can do. Strong through the hands so that you're giving good support up to the shoulders. You might be on your fists with knuckles facing each other if you have wrist issues. Pull in through the knees. So this is just a strong, very short movement as you kind of roll over the sides of the knees, bringing the inner thighs together just slightly. Squeezing in through the knees. Then bringing the toes in and the knees in. The hips go back towards the heels. Hands are in front of the hips, so you're giving some weight to the hands as well. Lift the hips just a bit and bring them over to one side. The hips come down a bit, then up over the heels and over to the other side. Hips moving gently and smoothly across the heels, coming down a bit on the side. If that's too much strain, come down just ever so slightly on the side. Finding your place in this movement as the shins and the knees interrelate, the knees and the thighs, free up their association, and the thighs and the hips become a little freer in relationship to each other. Coming back through center, come into a prone position with the forearms underneath the shoulders into Sphinx pose. Breathing in this pose, pulling back just slightly through the hands and the arms, opening up through the navel and up through the collarbone and the roof of the mouth. Shoulder blades relaxing down the back. Breathing, perhaps breathing up the front of the spine and down the back of the spine. One last inhale and exhale. Aligning the body, freeing the body up. Bring the torso down, arms come back along the sides, palms are facing in towards the body. Inhale, head, shoulders and arms up, reach back through the fingers, and exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. One more time. Now anchoring on hips, legs also rise, head and feet to just about the same height, and come down. Inhale up to a place you can sustain for several breaths, reaching back through fingers and toes, forward through crown. Breathing. And bringing it down. Now bring the hands, palms down, underneath the forehead. The forehead can come down onto the back of the hands. Then bend one leg. One leg is bent in the back. Bring the mind's eye to the glute, to the buttocks, on that side. Contracting the glute, raise the thigh and knee, perhaps ever so slightly, up and down, just a few times. Bringing the attention to the glute and strengthening it. And coming back down. Straighten that leg, letting the forehead rest down. I'm talking so my forehead is up. Bend the other leg, mind's eye to the glute, using the glute as you raise up through the thigh and knee just slightly and come back down. And up and down. And one more time. Bring the right arm so that it is horizontal under the shoulders. Left leg bends, left hand comes back and catches the ankle or the foot. Let the eyes be towards the front of the mat. Bring the heel towards the buttocks, stretching through the front of the hip flexor. Then pressing back, ankle or hand into the foot, foot into hand. Bring your mind's eye to the glute. Use the glute as you lift again a little bit through the thigh and the knee. Just a little movement. Relax that down. Bring the left arm across horizontal underneath the shoulders. Right leg bends, right hand comes back. Bring the heel towards the buttocks. Pushing ankle or foot into hand. Bring the mind's eye to the glute, contract and rise just slightly through the thigh and the knee. And you might try that one more time. And come down. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, elbows are close. Tuck the toes, come up onto hands, and come up into downward dog. Stretch back through the arms, elongate through the spine. Knees can be soft here at the beginning. Paddling the legs, opening up through the back of the body. And bringing the feet to stillness, arches come down just a little bit farther towards the mat. Inhale forward into plank. Strong through the arms as they lift up the shoulders. Energy back through the heels. Knees can be down if you need it. For 3, 2, and 1. Elbows close to the body, knees down. Come into a cobra as you push into the hands. Remaining in the body as you move. Strength into the arms and hands. Hips rise once again. Bring the right foot under the hips, left foot rises up. Push into hands, push into foot, rise up. Then bring the knee in under the belly and bring the foot through between the hands. Bring the right knee down, its back a ways. So usually we have the knee right under the hip. Now the knee is back behind the hip, but the front knee is right over the ankle. Press down through the back shin and through the front foot, enjoying that opening in the front of the hip and some opening in the front of the shin as well. And that muscle behind the shin. And bring the foot back, press into the hands, tuck the toes. Once again, come up into downward dog. The left foot is under the hips, the right foot rises up. Push into hands and foot, rise up. And then bend the knee in under the belly and bring the right foot forward. Come down onto the left knee, stretching through the left hip flexor. Simply abide within the body, in the sting and the pain, even the humiliation and the confusion of whatever has occurred. Let all of it work on us in the shadows and in the darkness. One last inhale here and exhale. Then one more time, back up into downward dog briefly. Walk the feet forward and the hands back. Hands trace up the legs as we roll up and come up into a standing position one more time. Bring the feet wide and come into Warrior Two. Front leg, the knee is right over the ankle, back arch of the foot right behind the heel of the front leg. Front of the body facing frontwards, neck turning to the side, then bringing the shoulders wide as the fingers come out. So we did this a little differently, different approaches that bring us into consciousness of these positions. Perhaps turn the palms up as the shoulder blades float down the back, and then turn the palms back down. Bend the front arm, bringing down onto the front thigh. Other arm reaches forward long from the back foot up through the shoulder, elbow, and fingertips. Breathing through the torso, aligning the body. Inhale as you bring that back arm back to the thigh, and the front arm rises up to the sky, the clouds, the sun, the stars. Breathing with the world. And coming back through Warrior Two. Hands come to the waist and switch to the opposite side. And find your place. You might be much narrower here, or medium, or far apart, and some farther than me. So find what works for you. Hips, to the extent possible, stay forward, and breastbone is forward. If this is too much torque on your knee, you can always come in a little bit with that foot. Once again, we're going to turn the head first this time. The chest remains forward and the neck is turning to the side. Arms then reach out and your gaze is over the fingertips. Flip the palms and bring them back. Invite that breath to come back down into the pelvic bowl, into the lower ribs, into the chest, and empty it out. Front arm bends onto the thigh, back arm arches up and over. Depending on your shoulder, it might stay up or it might come over. Nice stretch in the side of the waist, support under the waist. Inhale, arm back up and over, down the thigh, reaching up towards the sky. Let the body show the way. And come back through Warrior Two. Reclaim this free-flowing relationship between body and mind. Bring the hands in. Turn the feet a little pigeon-toed. Hands come to the hip creases. Torso comes parallel. Knees are a bit soft here. Stretch through the torso forward and then come down. So you have a nice long spine coming from the base of the spine. The vertebrae like pearl necklace, the space between the pearls. Breathing. Walk the hands over to an ankle. Opposite hand on opposite ankle as you lift up the other arm. Sweep the arm down, walk across, and open on the other side. Come back down, bring hands to the waist, torso comes parallel, pause, and then come up the rest of the way. Toe heel the feet back together. We'll do a twist before we end here. Extend the legs out in front. Bring one foot up by the other thigh and over. Wrap the arm around the knee and the other arm comes back behind. Extend out through the heel. Inhale up through the crown and exhale as you turn slightly through the hips. Inhale up through spine and crown, turning through the ribs slightly. Inhaling up and turning through shoulders and gaze, coming to just about 70% of what you could do. A gentle spiral for the spine. Perhaps feeling it through the hips. Massaging with your breath up through the spine. Perhaps bringing the chin down slightly towards the collarbone. Relax and unwind. Switch legs and bring that foot over. Wrap with the opposite arm, bring the other hand back behind, extend out through the foot, and continue inhaling up and exhaling round from bottom to top of the torso. Letting the breath soften you. Unwind. Sit for just a moment. Ankles flexed, legs extended out in front of you. Feeling the connective tissue, the heels behind the shins, inner thighs, psoas, up to the spine, up through collarbone and the back of the neck, and up through the crown. Warm and moist, open and flexible. The body receiving, open to experience. And we'll come down into a lying position. As you come down into Shavasana today, if you prefer your legs to be extended, that's fine. But you might bring the feet wide, bend the knees, and let the knees lean into each other, making a kind of tent with the knees. This allows the psoas muscle to slacken when relaxed. Relax down through the back of the throat, the tongue, lips and jaw, the front of the throat, softening through the torso and down to the pelvic floor, thighs, shins, the tops of the feet and the toes. Let the breath soften the bottom of the feet, coming up the back of the calves, the hamstrings, around the glutes, and up the spine. Tingling with life that's allowed to flow into the back of the neck, shoulders, and down the tops of the arms, forearms, to the tingling in the palms and the fingers. Breathing completely in the body. Lengthen the breathing and bring some movement to fingers and toes. Turn the wrists a bit, beginning to bring the body back into the everyday world. The knees a hug. Letting out all the breath. Inviting in the new breath, the new ways of life, the potential of this body. Open to itself, open to the world. And rolling over, we'll come up into a brief sitting position. Bringing hands to heart center. May we be healthy and safe. May we have the courage to be free of fear. May we abide in the body. And may we find the potential of this unknown space. Namaste. Thanks for practicing with me. May your tension be a little less after doing this. Remember to stand on a stair and let that other leg just freely lullaby back and forth this week. Relax down through the psoas. See you the next time.